Hey guys, it's Kate. Welcome to another speed build. In this speed build, I'm building a pretty traditional family home on a 40 by 40 lot in Brindleton Bay. This house has a very classic, basic shape, and this is exactly what I was going for. I felt like building something that is very traditional, just like a very typical family home or family mansion. I know that I kind of labeled many houses as family mansions or family home and all that, and a lot of people do that, and there's nothing wrong with that. All of these were indeed family homes, but I feel like this is really a proper classic family home. The shape almost reminds me of the Simpsons house, even though there aren't really similarities in shape, but it's kind of like the same style. There's a garage, it's very simple. There are 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. It's like the perfect place for a normal sized sim family, I would say. And I have to say, it's been a while since I posted my last video, 1 week I think, and actually I was working on something modern. I had already teased and announced this kind of, but then I put it on hold because I felt like building this. But no worries, I'm still working on the modern build and it's coming soon. I just have to say that the whole week was just kind of crazy. There was so much going on. So in this video, I'm going to explain what I was thinking when I was building this house as always, but I'm also going to give you a little life update, story time about what has been going on. So now we are going to jump in and let's see what was going on. This house can be divided into 3 parts, I would say. There is the part in the center with the little patio and the dormers, and then on the left side we have the garage, and then we have a little diagonal section on the right side. In the diagonal section is the living room located, and I know that a lot of people are kind of in 2 minds about garages, but I really enjoy garages for the reason that when you are building a rather small house or normal looking house, so not a really fancy big mansion, you kind of sometimes need some space to put some gym equipment, for example, and I feel like a regular sized house doesn't have a home gym most of the time. So a garage is kind of a pretty realistic, cool space where you can just put all kinds of things, or the flower arrangement table, for example, stuff like this. I personally don't want to place something like that in the living room. Of course, you could also build some type of garden shed, but I felt like building a garage because first of all, it just looks so cool from the outside. I just love that. And as I said, there is just a little space for gym equipment. I'm also going to add a little entrance on the left side, so there's some type of side entrance to the kitchen. I felt like this makes sense when you come home and there is a separate entrance to the garage. It just looks cool, and I think it's functional because you have a second entrance, and I'm so excited what you guys think about this. And for the color scheme, I was just going for something that is very friendly and happy. I used some blue in combination with some warm colors, and I mainly used the windows that are part of Get Together, but I also threw some of the windows that came with StrangerVille into the mix, and I think it turned out pretty cute. It's very basic, as I said, but it was so much fun. But there's also something a little bit more exciting and fun about this house, in my opinion. I decided to add a tree house to the back. For this, as you will see, I used a tree. I sized it up, but we will come to that later. And here I simply used a decoration, a little car that I sized up so it looks realistic. There are no cars in that game, and this is just a decoration object. As always, I of course didn't use any CC, so this is just something that would usually go on the shelf, but now it sits in the front of the house, and I think it looks really cool. And I just love that cute little picket fence that is part of StrangerVille. And I decided to build a little roof in front of the garage with some plants on top. For this, I used a base game plant. It just looks as if some kind of vines are growing on top of it. I think it looks super cute. I just tried to add more and more details so it looks unique, even though the shape is pretty basic and simple. I still wanted this house to look very dreamy, very unique and rich in detail, because this is just how I like to build. And so I was kind of adding more and more stuff, but I still tried to not go overboard. And in the back, I added a little patio section. I used the same technique here that I used in the front for the little roof that is in front of the garage. So this is where Sims can just hang out and have a little barbecue, because this house isn't really that huge. There is enough space in the back for a really proper garden. So I was able to add the treehouse and a pool, but you will see what I'm talking about in a couple of seconds. As I mentioned in the beginning of the video, this house kind of reminded me of the Simpsons house. And this is also what inspired me to try building a tree house. This is something that was on my mind for a long time, actually. I have thought about making a tree house a couple of times, but for some reason this idea never came to fruition. I never knew how to build this. I don't know, but now I just kept it simple and built a very basic, cool tree house. So for the tree house, I raised a little section of the terrain, and then I just added a room. So I have a full story that I can work with, and I decided to change up the shape. I did not want to have just a square room or something. I used the fence that is part of Seasons for this. And then I removed a part of the foundation, so it all works fine. And then I actually decided to adjust the position of the foundation, and I made a little hole in the center. So this is kind of where the tree is growing through, and I think it just looks so cute. And I wanted to make this functional, so I decided to add some monkey bars to the tree house. I also added a little section on the side with a swing set, so this is not just looking like a tree house, but this is actually a place where the Sims kids can hang out and have some fun. I think it just looks so cute. I think that this tree is part of Outdoor Retreat, but I'm not 100% sure, but it's one of my favorite trees. And if you want to create a tree house, I think that this is a really good type of tree for this, because when you size it up, it just has a perfect shape, and you have the leaves on top, but they aren't in the way. They have a perfect shape. And I also added something to sit on and just some other toys and different things. And these lights are part of the Toddler Stuff pack. They are just so cute. I think it's so perfect, and it goes so well together with the house. It has a completely different color. It like this very warm wood, but I feel like it's just the perfect color for a cute tree house like this. I think tree houses are basically the coolest thing ever. I've always dreamed about owning one. When I was a kid, my dad was like surprising me with the idea of building a tree house, and I was just so excited. My dad is just the best, and I was so happy, and he started working on that. There was no tree in the garden that would have been suitable for a tree house, so he had these huge wood pillars, and he put the wood pillars into the ground and decided to place the treehouse on top, and there was a sandbox underneath, and it already looked so cool. But then my mom suddenly developed the idea that it would be too dangerous. What if I fall down, or one of my friends? And then he kind of had to dismantle the whole thing, and I'm still not over it, because I was so much looking forward to that thing. And yeah, it's just such a funny, weird story. Who starts building a treehouse and then just stops and scraps the idea. But yeah, maybe one day I will own one. And here I'm starting to work on the interior. I tried to keep the interior very classic, very traditional. I used lots of neutral colors, but I still threw in some crazy bright colors in the mix, so there is a cool pop of color. For the living room, for example, I used a lot of yellow. At first, I couldn't decide which colors to use, so I'm going to change up a couple of things, the colors of the curtains, for example, and stuff like that. So some of the rooms are more colorful than the others, and I was going for one color for each room for the little details and decorations. The kitchen, for example, has a lot of neutral colors and a lot of orange pops of colors, but I think that the living room is the most crazy room of them all, because there's a lot of color going on. But I feel like even though yellow is not a neutral color, the combination of it all still makes it so warm and cozy. It still kind of looks neutral in a weird way. I think it turned out so great. So as I said, this week was kind of crazy. It all started with two family members of my boyfriend's family being being admitted to hospital. Both of them aren't feeling well, and their doctor said that they should be admitted to hospital, but it wasn't an immediate emergency, so they were advised to not call an ambulance, but to use an ambulance service, which means that you still call the emergency number, but you like have a little paper for the ambulance service, and you explain to them that you just have to be picked up because one of them was supposed to be transported laying down, so it wasn't a possibility for them to take a taxi or drive themselves or something. So we called them and we explained that both of them have to be transported, and they tell you that you just have to wait a couple of hours when an ambulance is free because it's not an immediate emergency, and you just wait for them, and everything was fine. But then they were like, why are two people who live together are being admitted to hospital? Is it like some type of contagious infection? And they were worried if they have to take some special measurements for some type of infection. And I was like, no, I was like, oh my God, they're going to arrive in hazmat suits or something. But I explained that it's just a coincidence, and then we waited and everything was all right. And then the ambulance arrived, and they were just supposed to pick them up and bring them to hospital, nothing bad. But then they just jumped out of the ambulance like in a movie and ran to one of them. And ironically, one of the two was feeling worse. One of them had like trouble breathing a little bit, and the other one was actually kind of alright, but they were running to the person who was alright. It was like in a movie, and they rushed to him. It was like the Simpsons episode where Mr. Smithers is feeling bad, but everyone is rushing to Mr. Burns, kind of, and it was like in a movie. Luckily, the one who had trouble breathing was a very good sport about that, and I had to laugh, actually. It was such a weird situation, but then they were brought to hospital, and everything is alright. They are back home now. And then a third person of his family was admitted to hospital. It was all completely unrelated. It was just a very sad coincidence. And then my mother fell down and hurt herself. My mother is suffering from multiple sclerosis, and one of her legs is partially paralyzed. So she has a very hard time walking. She always needs a walker when she's out of the house so she can walk around. It's very difficult for her, and once a couple of years back she fell and actually broke her foot. It's a very difficult situation. Breaking something is always horrendous, but for her it's like she can't use crutches, for example, and just live her life because she's an able-bodied. So when something like this happens, it's extremely tricky, and she fell down, hurt herself, but luckily nothing is broken or something. But we were all worried, and now everything is kind of calming down. It was like a very crazy week, and there was even some more stuff going on this week, so I just wasn't in the headspace and I didn't have the time to create anything. So it's been a full week now, but now I'm back and I can't wait to create some more. Everything should be back to normal slowly now, so I'm really sorry for that. But yeah, I just wanted to give you guys a small life update about what's going on. Just such a crazy coincidence that so much was going wrong at the same time, but in my experience this is kind of how it is. Everything kind of goes wrong all at once, and then there are times where everything is just completely fine and perfect. Like, this is happening so often. Something goes wrong and then another thing goes wrong, and so on and so on. I don't know, but yeah, fingers crossed everything is back to normal now. Here I'm working on the bathroom. As I said, there are two bathrooms. One is located at the bottom and one is located at the top. I used a half wall to create a little nook where I placed the toilet, and on the other side there is a bathtub. It looks kind of modern, but I used a lot of neutral colors, so it still looks warm and inviting. And this is the office. I always love to include a separate office because spending time on the computer, playing the piano, or doing whatever is like such an important part in a Sim's life. You could also add a little chess table there if you would like to. I mean, it's basically just a room where Sim can develop some skills and read a book if they want. I was using lots of red details for this room to make it look very inviting and warm, but I used some gray on the wall to have a contrast because I did not want this room to stand out too much, so the gray on the wall kind of balances it out. And here is the gym equipment in the little garage. And now I'm starting to work on the bedrooms. This is the pink bedroom. I used a lot of pink for this, but I think it looks so cute. I used some wall decorations to make it look very warm and inviting, and a little rock in front of the bed and a little sofa so your sim can sit and hang out. And this is the second kid's room. I'm going to change the color of the curtains. At first I wanted this room to be very colorful, but then it was like very monochrome and blue, but it still has some type of modern feel to it in a way. I don't know, it doesn't look like a room for a very small kid. It's kind of like maybe a room that would be fitting to a stage where a sim isn't really a kid anymore, but also not really a teenager. It would be cool if we could have another life stage at some point maybe. And this is the master bedroom. Again, lots of neutral colors. The bed is part of the vintage Glamour Stuf pack. And this is the second bathroom. It's quite small, but I felt like having 2 bathrooms is very important for a house with so many sims. And this is almost it, guys. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If so, please like and subscribe. I hope that you guys will have a fantastic week. As always, you can download the slot in the gallery. I'm going to include all the information down below in the description box, including the packs that I used. And I hope that I see you in the next video. Bye bye.